Georgie and Mandy's first marriage wraps up its debut year with a two-parter that changes the course of its story moving forward. It's no secret that the cancellation of Young Sheldon was divisive despite its countless plot inconsistencies. With The Big Bang Theory, the show was beloved primarily thanks to its shift in storytelling. Instead of just being Sheldon's origin story, it became a family show with an increased focus on the Coopers. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage takes the concept and runs away with it. The first season of a 1990s set sitcom, which is a spin-off of Young Sheldon, which is a spin-off of The Big Bang Theory, follows Georgie Sheldon's older brother as he moves to Medford, Texas, with Mandy, the 31-year-old. He knocked up on Young Sheldon, the 19-year-old, raises his daughter Cece. While working to establish a career there in the first season of the sitcom, the couple became financially independent and became closer. Mandy waitresses and aspires to be a weather reporter. While Georgie works at his father-in-law Jim's car shop, their relationship is still tense, though, and they also have issues with their respective in-laws, Mandy's mother Audrey and Jim's mother Mary. When Jim contemplates selling his car dealership, which Georgie aspires to eventually take over in the season 1 finale, Georgie is forced to take matters into his own hands. In the meantime, Mandy worked hard to land a full-time job at a TV station. But the good news is mirrored by the fact that her new boss is her ex-boyfriend, with episodes averaging over 12 million viewers across broadcast and streaming. Georgie and Mandy's First Wedding became one of the network's best-performing shows during the 2024 to 2025 broadcast season. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that the show received a second season renewal at the conclusion of season 1. Georgie and Mandy remain married. The problem with prequels is that viewers usually already know how the protagonists' lives will ultimately turn out. As a result, the journey becomes far more important in the plot than the final destination. The title of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage recognizes that it is not an exception. Georgie and Mandy eventually get divorced, as anyone who has seen The Big Bang Theory knows, but it's still unclear how, why, and when there's also a hint of mystery in the title, as Osmond has explained, the audience is left wondering whether this is their first marriage, or if this is their second. Will they marry each other again? She asked. There's a lot of questions that are asked when you look at that title. Kim is the owner of the car shop. Fred Fagenbacher, Audrey's ex-boyfriend and a greasy auto parts magnate, makes the first move to approach him. One of the main plot points of the latter episodes is Jim's desire to sell. Since he and Jim had talked about Georgie taking over the shop after he retired, Georgie is incensed about the possibility when he tells Mandy that place was supposed to be mine someday. It was going to be our future. Jim wants to sell in order to travel with Audrey and contribute to Cece's college tuition. Even though he is sympathetic to Georgie's prospects, Georgie takes immediate action after informing the family that he intends to sell to Fagenbacher. He requests 40 hours to match the astonishing offer. Himself agreement with Fagenbacher is delayed. When a skeptical Jim agrees, Georgie dresses up and tries his hardest to convince a loan officer at the neighborhood bank, but he gets turned down. Additionally, he extends his hand to his Mimo, who blanches at the magnitude. Mary, who gives her house as collateral, ends up saving his life. Georgie insists, "I could never risk your house," but Mary has faith in him. "Honey, your whole life, I was all focused on your brother and sister." She replies, "It's your turn." He gets the loan after visiting his father's grave to discuss the matter. Regretfully, his salary is far less than what Fagenbacher is providing. A coworker at the car shop named Reuben offers to cover the remaining amount. At that point, Reuben and Georgie decide to become business partners, although no one would consider them pals. Jim agrees after taking a slough from his flash. They currently own the company when her predecessor departs for another position she fills in at a nearby station before being appointed full-time as the very early morning weather reporter. By adding line dances and humorous anecdotes to her reports, she impresses her colleagues and begins receiving fan mail. She finally becomes an emailing reporter. As a result of this, a raise is another benefit of the more prominent position. The rub: her former employer, Scott, a smart, attractive man her own age, is now her boss. Mandy is frequently reminded by Audrey that his family is well off. Her mother says, "I was so sad when he dumped you," which is quite cruel. Scott has a fiancée of his own and is aware that Mandy is married. However, the two had a number of tense exchanges, and when she hugs him after telling him about her raise, it's likely that old emotions will surface. However, she puts off doing so for far too long out of concern that Georgie would become IR, which regrettably is precisely what occurs at the start of the last episode of Season 1. Georgie says that by keeping the job, you're picking him over me. When he threatens to leave his mother, she tells him to keep their child in mind. Meanwhile, Audrey consoles Mandy. You cannot allow Georgie's immaturity to control your aspirations, she said, adding that Georgie's rage is more about him being insecure than it is about her. Ultimately, Georgie is compelled to acknowledge that they cannot subsist without Mandy's pay. They have a daughter to support, and he took on a lot of debt to purchase the vehicle shop. I guess we just have to trust each other, he states. Seems that way, she says in response. Anxiety and excitement are mixed together as Season 1 of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage comes to a close. Despite their age difference, uncertainties, and financial difficulties, they are both taking chances and advancing in their careers. In their final conversation, the couple tells one another with a hint of tired affection, "You irritate me." But in the last scene, Georgie and Reuben are just starting off the car shop. Fagenbacher pays them a visit as they settle in as company partners and co-owners with the intention of forcing them out of business. Season 2 will have to deal with a number of issues that are brought up in the Season 1 finale. First and foremost, Georgie and Reuben need to figure out how to cooperate in order to fight against Fagenbacher, maintain their company, and settle their debt. For Georgie, this is particularly crucial because his mother's home is at stake. In the meantime, Mandy will have to manage her new career with her ex, with whom she still has some sexual tension now that he is retired. Jim and Audrey's lives will also be different. In the epilogue, he inebriatedly informs her that he will be spending a lot more time at home going forward, which might have a positive or negative impact on their marriage.